Welcome to Car Design Academy, where we help aspiring designers master the skills and technology necessary to succeed as an automotive designer through live, online training, and personal mentoring. Today we're going to be continuing our exploration of vehicle front ends, and today we're going to be doing a couple of Grand Touring coupes. And one is going to have a very American flavor, and the other is going to have a very Italian flavor. And I'm going to show you how the graphic elements of the front end can really convey a different sense of origin when it comes to the vehicle. And so even without getting into the brand, we can explore just the different impressions you get from placing the visual elements of the front end in different ways. So I'm going to start with a Grand Touring coupe that is much more American in flavor, maybe has a bit of a muscle car reference to it. So I'm going to start with my box here, and this is going to be a kind of a front 7/8 view, so it's going to be turned mostly towards the viewer. And I'm going to put a little bit of a cabin on top here. In fact, I might just put a bit of an egg shape here just to set up the passenger volume of the car. I'm also going to draw some squares for the wheels. And I'm going to draw a water line which is much more level and much more kind of in line with the tops of the wheels. That's a very American character. And maybe some kind of a fender form in the back, some kind of a haunch or a rear fender form. And this car is going to have a very triplanar front end. So, or it's going to have a very sculptural chamfered front end. It's going to be very low and very wide. So I'm going to sketch my ellipses. As American vehicles, doesn't necessarily have the lowest ground clearance. And then I'm going to start to incorporate some graphic elements that are very robust, very strong. It's going to have a very, very prominent air intake. Some very prominent elements on the side of the vehicle, and a very level line going across the front. So I'm just laying out the basic shapes and forms. And so this grille is going to be just kind of sitting up on top of the bumper. It's going to have very low profile tires with prominent spokes. And the A-pillar is going to point right towards the center of the front wheel. And we're going to have a very, very prominent bonnet or hood. It's going to have this kind of aircraft canopy quality to the cabin. And I'm going to keep the lamps somewhat connected to the grille. So as I get more confident, I can start to darken some of the key lines. I might also introduce some powerful elements on the center of the hood. This could be called a power dome. And we're also going to have some very strong corner elements like brake ducts, for example. So the brake ducts really help to frame the corner of the vehicle. You could have some fog lights or some corner lights buried in there, but basically they just give this car a sense of a strong stance, like it's planted to the ground. And then that large grille just really conveys power. We'll just keep a fairly coarse texture in there, so it looks like it can really take in a lot of air. So without getting too much into the brand, you really get a sense of the origin of the vehicle. Like, this is a very American vehicle, and you get a sense of this raw power coming from underneath the bonnet. This would most likely have a V8 engine or something turbocharged or supercharged. And then that rear haunch just really starts to convey this power of the engine transferring right to the rear wheels for maximum acceleration. So lots of sculpture, lots of power, lots of visual power. You know, maybe we have some kind of an intake here on the center of the hood. So let's contrast that with the design of a sleek Italian exotic grand touring vehicle. So it's gonna have a bit more sculpture, more voluptuous, but more importantly, it's gonna have a much lower front end, like more of a bottom breather front end. So we're gonna get our 7/8 view going. And we're gonna have a nice strong plan shape, very, very low brow line. I'm gonna have a very, very teardrop-like cabin in the rear, you know, set to the rear. I'll draw my ellipses. Again, with the A-pillar pointing towards the center of the front wheel. And this car is also going to have a very strong haunch in the rear, or a rear fender form. Having that strong rear fender form just helps to convey the sense of power being transferred right to that rear wheel and planting that rear tire on the road. The cabin is a very teardrop canopy, aircraft canopy quality to it. And then these very pronounced fender forms. So actually the center of the hood might be at or below the fenders. So the fenders actually come up over the center of the hood. And we have this just very, very low brow line, lots of wedge. You know, some kind of a deep sculptural element on the side of the vehicle. And then all of the air intake is underneath the brow line. So it's what we call like a bottom breather front end. I might introduce a unique element at the center here. Again, we're not talking brand, but I wanted to just convey some sort of unique design element. So on the American car, the muscle car, all the design elements hang below the brow line. The brow line's really high. But on the Italian car, the lighting elements might be above the brow line. So we have our brow line here, and then we might have a lighting element above the brow line. And then we have all of our intake, all of our air coming in below the brow line. And we just have this body side tunneling in to a deep air intake. So even though the profile and proportion of these vehicles, these two Grand Touring coupes, is very similar, the Italian car has this much lower, sleeker, more exotic look because all of those graphic elements live below that brow line, and the hood is much lower, and then you have these fenders coming up and over the center of the hood. Just gives you a very, very different impression. You have this very sculptural body side. So even without going into brand, we can really get a sense of the flavor and intent of the vehicle, and how it conveys its country of origin, how it conveys the attitude of the owner or the driver. So as you're sketching front ends, I really want you to think about the placement of graphics and elements, and think about that water line and whether your lighting is above or below the water line. Where's that water line in relation to the other graphic elements? Also, if it's an electric vehicle, it may not have a grille at all, or may not have to take in air at all. And so all of these different things, all these different elements communicate the technology, the intent, and the power of the vehicle, and even its country of origin. And that's before we even start getting into brands. And when we start getting into brands, now we start to think about certain shapes and forms that almost like a logo convey the brand DNA of the vehicle. And so I want you to, before you get into brands, I really want you to start thinking about the graphic elements in a non-branded kind of way, so you can really start to get a sense of the flavor and the emotion that you're trying to convey with the front end of your sketches. If you're looking to take your car design career to the next level, you need a mentor who can show you the way. Go to www.CARDESIGN.ACADEMY and book a free discovery call. We can help you map out a strategy, to master the skills and technology necessary to succeed as an automotive designer through live, online training, and personal mentoring. Whether you're just starting out on the journey or you're looking to level up, subscribe to our channel and be sure to follow us on Instagram at CARDESIGN.ACADEMY.